It appears that I am the designated camera person of the family. This is not because I am a camera guy by profession or by passion. Rather, it is because I own a great phone and work in technology, which somehow gives every relative the green light to dump their unpaid gigs on me. My name is Nathan, and I am 31 years old. I've done everything from providing free IT support to acting as an impromptu babysitter, chauffeur, and, of course, in the role of an unofficial wedding photographer during the course of my life. In most cases, I choose to smile and bore it because I have a deep affection for my grandparents, and they are the sole reason I ever show up to these stupid family reunions. In contrast, this particular wedding was not like any other. It was on this day that I came to the realization that my particular branch of the family tree was completely irrelevant to the rest of them. My cousin Melanie was the one who was getting married. I was the quiet nephew who existed in the background during barbecues and funerals when we were growing up. He was the golden child of my Aunt Lorna, and I was the silent nephew who existed at funerals and barbecues. I was actually delighted for her when the invitation arrived in the mail, despite the fact that I was disappointed. There was no cost spared in the creation of this formal invitation, which had floral designs, embossed text, and one of those unnecessarily long love poems that made an attempt at being romantic. Even my name was printed on it, and it was not +1 or family, it was for Nathan. That was significant to me in some way. Therefore, I sent a positive response, purchased a new suit, cleared my weekend, and then spent the entirety of Saturday traveling around in search of the ideal present for the wedding. The wedding registry that Melanie and her fiancé Ryan had was one of those ridiculously expensive ones, the kind that includes toasters that cost $300 and sets of 6 forks that cost $80 for each set. Instead of going with the selections, I decided to give a check because I didn't like them. It is a generous one, priced at $1,500. That money came from the hours of consulting work that I managed to squeeze in on the weekends during the week. It's not because I'm wealthy or anything like that. I'm doing fine. It was because I wanted that money to have some significance that I gave it. The gesture sent the message that although we were not very close, I am cheering for you. I wanted to personally deliver it to the gift table, so I placed it inside the card, sealed it in a sophisticated envelope, and scrawled her name on the front of the envelope. It was a lakeside estate with white linen tents, fairy lights, and that faint fragrance of eucalyptus that weddings often have when people hire costly planners. The venue was just stunning. Out of habit, I arrived earlier than usual. Those of us who work in technology do that. We leave time to fix things in the event that they break. Despite the fact that I was not anticipating any kind of red carpet greeting, I was met with a chillier reception than normal. When I went in, my Aunt Lorna could not help but notice me right away. Neither of them smiled. It's not a hug, it's just a brief handshake and a dry kiss. Oh, you have succeeded. After providing a courteous response, I proceeded to present her a small bouquet of flowers that I had brought along as a side gift, and then I made my way into the tent where the remaining attendees were clustered together. A crisp addition was made by her before I had even completed 3 steps. Just so you know, the photographer is running a little bit behind schedule. I would appreciate it if you could take a few shots while we wait there. I blinked my eyes. Yeah, I guess that's the case. To be honest, I had no intention of bringing my equipment with me, but if you require some candid photographs, I can take a few on my phone. With a smile, she appeared to have verified what she had previously anticipated. Obviously, you did not bring your equipment with you. In no way do you. It is all right. Just make an effort to get the things that are most important, okay? Things like the cutting of the cake, the entrance, and the first dance are examples. They did not wait for a response from her. Simply turned around and strolled away. I made an effort to keep it from affecting me. I knew she was under a lot of pressure. Marriages have that effect on people. As a result, I engaged in some social interaction, located the gift table, and discreetly positioned my envelope close to the front of the room. It wasn't until I looked around to see whether anyone else had arrived early that I became aware of it. It was a familiar envelope. My own. In operation already. The top of the flap was torn in an irregular manner, and it was bent as if someone had hurried to look inside. The check was no longer present. My chest became more taut. One more time, I peered around. There is no one about. There was nothing more than a collective of caterers setting chairs, and Aunt Lorna could be heard in the distance yelling about tablecloths. As I knelt down and picked up the package, I felt a twisting sensation in my gut. 15 minutes had passed since I had entered the building. A few moments later, Kayla, Melanie's sister, came over to me with a phony smile on her face and said, "Oh hey, Nathan. According to Aunt Lorna, you are going to be in charge of photos today. Before the ceremony begins, would it be possible for us to gather a few of the guys at the dock?" There they are already present. That was the moment when something changed. It is the tone. A selection of words to use. Putting together the photographs. Not assisting in any way, not taking a few pictures, but actually taking the pictures themselves. It was as if I had been appointed. As if I were a member of the staff. For example, I had promised to work at the wedding of my cousin, which cost $80,000. Free of charge, the same relative who hadn't communicated with me since the year 2016. Okay, no problem. I mumbled that. I was going through the motions of walking toward the pier while holding my phone in my hand, but my mind was elsewhere. It was the envelope that kept coming to my mind. Regarding the speed with which someone had unlocked it. About how they didn't even make an effort to conceal it. And, more crucially, on the fact that nobody had expressed gratitude to you. There is no acknowledgement. None of it. Photos were taken by myself. I cracked a grin. It was a game for me. On the other hand, something had broken inside. When I looked around, I noticed that the guests were drinking champagne, the wedding coordinator was shouting commands into a headset, and Melanie was smiling for the actual photographers who had come. The more I looked around, the more invisible I felt. And now I was beginning to see that this was more than simply a wedding. This was a demonstration. A theatrical production in which each member of the cast played a role, and it was obvious that I was the one who assisted. I was able to locate my seat 1 hour later, after the ceremony had over and everyone had been brought inside for the reception they were attending. Or more accurately, the absence of one. The seating chart was shown on a massive mirror that was located close to the entrance. I did a single scan of it. Twice in total. A lack of my name was present. I reviewed it once more, thinking that perhaps the spelling had been incorrect. No way. Not at all, Nathan. What is it? As she drew nearer, she was dripping with sugar and vinegar. Don't cause a commotion, all right? Only take images of the scene. After the guests, you take the lead. While the guests were making their way past me and the band began playing, I remained anchored to the floor and stood there. I actually entertained the idea of laughing and acting as if it didn't hurt for a brief second. However, I recalled the envelope at that moment. It was the open flap that I recalled. It was then that I recalled how proud I felt when I wrote that check, and how fast that pride had turned into something acrid. After making my excuses, I made my way back to the present table in a stealthy manner and picked up the envelope that was empty. Kayla's voice broke out once again at that moment, and it was excessively loud and overly upbeat. "Nathan, would you be able to obtain a picture of Melanie with a cake? Right now, the lighting is absolutely ideal." After looking down at the package I was holding, I turned my attention back to Kayla. If that is the case, I began by speaking in a calm and quiet manner, one that was so quiet that she was unable to properly notice the change in tone. It was sufficient for her to make a little frown, indicating that she was perplexed, as I turned around and started going toward the exit. The moment that everything began to fall apart was precisely that moment. I did not leave in a rage. Not only would that have been overly theatrical, but it would have also been beneath the tone that I was striving for. I walked with a composed and measured gait. Several tables were filled with individuals who were laughing, clinking glasses, and taking photos as I walked by them. While she was absolutely oblivious to what had just taken place, one of my aunts gave me a courteous wave. Perhaps they are not aware, or perhaps they are apathetic. That is even more terrible. Despite the fact that its contents had already been stolen, the envelope felt light in my fingers and was nearly completely useless. In any case, it was symbolic. The receipt was my confirmation that I had arrived at this family circus with the greatest of intentions, only to be treated like a disposable prop. I had shown up with the best of intentions. It was tucked away in the pocket of my jacket. Just as I was about to enter the parking area, I recognized Ryan, the groom, as the person who had called out from behind me. Despite the fact that he was still a little out of breath from the first dance, he jogged over. "I need to express my gratitude to you for coming out, man. As soon as Melanie saw you, She was overjoyed. I made a turn. There were a number of people I anticipated would try to stop me, but Ryan was not on the list. An uneasy smile appeared on his face as he failed to comprehend the fact that I had failed to return it. It was my understanding that you were assisting with the photographs until the team arrived. Is that correct? That was a pretty admirable act on your part. You are appreciated. There was a pause. Have Melanie mentioned that to you? It's not true. I believe your aunt brought it up. Is it Kayla? A person did it. In any case, I am extremely grateful to you, dude. You have always been a laid-back person when it comes to matters of that nature. My head slowly nodded. Was Melanie the one who informed you about the gift? It was a blink. What kind of present? Nearly smiling, I was. Exactly the same. Clearly, he was perplexed. Is that anything you brought with you? I reached into my pocket and pulled out the envelope, which I then presented to him. This is not to contribute, but rather to show off. The name is still written in a nice manner. Even now, the flap is torn. He was fixated on it. It was a check for $4,500 that was brought in here, I said evenly. But it has already been unlocked by someone. It has been removed. His expression shifted. I was able to visualize the gears turning. Is this even possible? Hold on, who is it? Do not be concerned about it. It was me that interrupted him. Calm but resolute in its approach. I just wanted to let you know that whatever was in this room is no longer a concern for you. Excuse me, Nathan. Probably to stop me, to explain, or to inquire as to whether or not it was a joke, he stretched out to me. Aside from that, I was already turning away. I went to my car and sat there in silence for a very little moment. My phone has broken. A message sent by Kayla. What happened to you? Still, we need to get a shot of the bouquet being thrown. My phone was turned off by me. However, as soon as I fastened my seatbelt and began to reverse, I noticed motion in the rear-view mirror. It appears that someone is descending the stairs of the venue at a rapid pace. This is my Aunt Lorna. As I was halfway through opening the window, she arrived at the car barely in time. By the time she caught her breath, she yelled out, "I don't know what your problem is." On the other hand, this is really disrespectful. Is it possible that you are the focus of this day? After a brief pause, I finally spoke out and responded to the stillness. It is not about me at all. Not at any point in time. She gave a glare. Melissa did not even bother to ask you for a present. On your own, you accomplished that. In the event that you are that interested in it, I will write you a check. No need to bother, I told you. Please only respond to one question. You opened the envelope, didn't you? It was her mouth that opened. Locked up. She scoffed as she proceeded to do something that was intriguing. The table was left unattended with the item. There was no way for me to determine who the owner was. All of us were organizing. I was under the impression that it was something that we needed to monitor. The check as well. She gestured with her hand. Along with the other items, I placed it in the safe. But Melanie was never informed of this. The day was filled with more significant matters for her to contemplate. I was fixated on her. I take it you determined that I was not a guest. We are merely a service provider. I also left a gift for you, and you helped yourself to it. You are being very theatrical, she yelled at you. Nothing told you to go, did it? Reminding her that you had informed me that I wasn't here to eat, I said. You told me that I was not your family. That is not what I meant to say. My interruption was exactly what you meant to say. As you are aware of it. She appeared to be interested in continuing the argument, but she was aware that I was not providing her with a lot of material to work with. The expression on my face was too composed and too deliberate. There was no way for her to know what I had in mind. It is likely that she believed that I would go on Facebook and publish a post that was passive-aggressive. Perhaps not even up to that. On the other hand, I had something more desirable. Leaving her on the gravel path with her arms crossed and her mouth clenched, I rolled up the window and carefully drew away from her. There was no sleep for me that night. It wasn't that I was angry. On the contrary. In my calculations, I was. Anger causes people to make mistakes. People who are strategic. Hold on. The first thing I did was go back and look at every single interaction I had with the family over the years. Every courtesy that had not been returned. Every time they required assistance with moving or putting together a slideshow for a birthday party. The beginning of each and every emergency call that began with, "You are proficient with computers, right? We are sorry that we are unable to pay you, but rest assured that we will absolutely get you the next time." Never did the next time come. On the other hand, I had a list at this point. Over the following 3 hours, I sat quietly and sorted through everything that was there. Thank you. All of the things that I had made for them. Access that I had provided. Despite my feelings of remorse, I continued to pay for the subscriptions. To determine the value of each one, I did a tally. And by the time it was 3 in the morning, I had a clear idea of how I was going to make things fair and ensure that they would never ask me for anything again. However, prior to taking any action, I canceled the check by logging into the mobile app of my bank. The following morning, the group chat was exploding with activity like a wildfire. Melanie uploaded a picture of herself and Ryan smiling next to the cake at 7:12 in the morning, along with a comment that was filled of emoticons and expressions of gratitude. At 7:34, Kayla made her contribution, saying, "Shout out to Nathan for taking so many great pictures before the professionals showed up." Helping hand. Adorable. Very adorable. At 8 minutes past 5 o'clock, Aunt Lorna communicated with the entire extended family group. "I would want to express my gratitude to everyone who attended and helped make yesterday a truly remarkable day. We experienced the love. As soon as we have finished logging all of the gifts, I can't wait to share the totals with you." It was at that moment that I realized she had not informed Melanie. "No, it's not about the envelope. Nothing to do with the sitting. Not pertaining to anything. This is the only message that I sent at 8:42. There is a possibility that you should verify that you won $4,500. I canceled the event." I did not wait for them to respond. I turned off the mute button on my phone, put it down, and picked up my laptop. The actual work didn't start until after that. Over the course of my life, I had performed a great number of unpaid favors for my family. Little things that, at the time, appeared to be completely harmless. As Uncle Rob was getting ready to launch his lawn care company, he was responsible for setting up his domain name and email account, developing the website for Kayla's first wedding, which was a wedding website, putting together a video slideshow for Grandma's 80th birthday, removing malware from the computers belonging to 5 separate cousins, putting together a family photo archive that everyone can access, paying for cloud storage, and keeping everything up to date will be required. It was possible for some of them to access accounts that I theoretically still own. The software licenses that I had purchased for were still being used by some of them. Each and every one of them had benefited from me in ways that they no longer even noticed in their lives. There was never any mention of my name. No credit was ever requested by me. What I just did is, mostly due to the fact that it was less difficult than listening to folks fumble through technical questions as if they were attempting to perform brain surgery. At this point, I had a complete list. Also, I was aware of who utilized what. I started by removing all of their access to the cloud archive that was shared by everyone. It was the digital scrapbook of the family. Photos that I have chosen, sorted, and tagged cover a wide range of occasions, including graduations, birthdays, baby showers, and vacations. The removal of every other user from the drive took place within a matter of minutes. I choose not to erase it. A change in permissions was just made by me. Kayla sent me a direct text message at 11:12 a.m. It seems to me that there is a problem with the album that is being shared. Does it mention that access has been denied? I did not give a response. Need assistance? Was the subject line of an email that was sent to me by my Uncle Rob at 9:27 p.m. and a hurried message informing him that his corporate email account was not functioning properly. The fact that I was still the administrator of his domain registrar had slipped my mind. After a few clicks, I had modified the DNS settings, which resulted in his website being replaced with a straightforward message that read, "Site under maintenance. Please come back at a later time." I opened the wedding video montage that I had created for Grandma's birthday at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was the result of more than 60 hours of editing, and it included dozens of clips that were gathered from all around the family tree. I recalled how everyone became overwhelmed with emotion whenever we played it. I recalled how Aunt Lorna had shed tears, given me a hug, and told me, "You are the glue that holds this family together." Fascinating how adhesive can become undetectable. Following the deletion of the version from the shared drive, I re-uploaded a shorter version with only 1 minute of silent black screen. It was written on the title card that, "Guess the glue got tired." Then, just to be on the safe side, I terminated my subscription to the 3 software plans for which I was still responsible for paying the price. A Canva Pro account belonging to Kayla, a photo restoration tool belonging to Uncle Dan, and Melanie's access to a premium wedding invitation design website are all examples. Nothing left. My phone broke down at approximately 11 in the morning. Her name was Melanie. There is no text. "What's up?" It rang for a while. Subsequently, she called once more and then left a voicemail. Before beginning to listen, I waited for a few minutes. "Mel here, Nathan." "Hey there. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on here. Was it something that Aunt Lorna mentioned concerning a check? But now Kayla is saying that the photo archive isn't functioning, and I have no idea why. I simply did not know any of this information. I was completely unaware of it. I had the impression that you departed early due to work or some other reason. Are you able to talk to me?" Her voice was a little bit shaky at the very end. I had never before heard her sound so honestly uncertain as she did at that moment. "It's not a brat. The payments. Files stored digitally. Not even logins to websites. It is not a right. Simply put, I am perplexed." I pondered that for a duration of time. She was unaware of it. At least, she asserted that she did not do so. Nevertheless, she continued to witness me showing up by myself, carrying photographic equipment, not eating, and leaving early, even if she had not been aware of the specifics. She genuinely believed that to be the norm, didn't she? She truly thought that was acceptable, didn't she? Once again, I received a call at lunchtime. This time from a number that has been blocked. I decided to pick up the phone, assuming that perhaps it was one of the more senior members of the family who was unable to text. That would be Aunt Lorna. She started by saying, "You had better stop doing whatever petty thing you think you're doing right now." Her voice seemed to be already sharp. I did not make any statements. Only listened to it. "It is irrelevant to me if you are upset. Simply because you did not receive a piece of cake does not give you the right to destroy the tools and memories that belong to this family. I had no control over it." In all honesty, I laughed. "No, Lorna, this is not about the cake. You are making a vengeful move. Too immature. The businesses of other individuals are being put in jeopardy by you. The people who have been taking advantage of me for years," I interrupted. A brief pause transpired. "It is a lengthy one." Then she proceeded to lower her voice into that tone that was deceptively pleasant and patronizing. "You have always exhibited so much sensitivity. Because of this, everybody doesn't take you seriously. You are unable to delegate anything. As I was saying, I did let it go. Since the year 2000. But the day before. Because of you, I was reminded of what occurs when I continue to let things go. Suddenly, people begin to believe that I was never truly present." She let out a huff. "What does it matter? You are going to just cut off everyone's communication? By what means? Something that's not clear?" I replied with a negative. "Greater clarity is desired." At long last, I realized the reality. You never considered me to be a member of your family. Similar to technical help that has a beating heart. I ended the call before she could make her case. Throughout the remainder of the day, there was a constant trickle of urgent communications. There will be more calls. There have been a couple posts on Facebook that are considered to be passive-aggressive and plainly reference me without naming names. Grandma called by the time dinner was over. I relegated that one to the voicemail system. For the simple reason that she was the only person who could persuade me to reconsider everything, she was the one who did it. Not until the next morning did I take the time to listen to Grandma's message. I didn't care because I didn't care. On the other hand, since I did. One too many. Since the beginning, her voice had been the one weak place in my defenses. The only member of the family who had ever offered me affection that was not dependent on anything. This was the kind of love that did not come with a bill attached to it. In the moment that I eventually played it, I remained motionless in my kitchen, listening to her voice shake with a mixture of bewilderment and alarm. "This is Nathan, my darling. It is unclear to me what is taking place. Everyone is in a crazy state. It is said that you are upset, and that you are engaging in some kind of circus act. All morning long, your aunt has been raving at you. She is making statements that I find offensive. They were advised to be quiet since I was going to call you myself." A brief pause transpired. A gentle exhalation. "Just so you are aware, I have always been able to track you down. At all times. Even though everybody else didn't do it. Feel free to give me a call back if you can. If not, then don't. I will continue to love you." As I closed my eyes, I put my phone down and sat down. It flared for a brief minute, despite all of the anger and all of the calculation. However, this is only for a little duration. Because the next thing I was about to do was no longer about punishing those who had wronged me. Clarity was the issue at hand. To put it another way, individuals such as my Aunt Lorna function in the shadows of polite society. It is never heard from them in public. They embarrass you by placing a soft touch on your shoulder, manipulating you with a smile, and whispering insults wrapped in silk when they do so. In addition, the victim becomes the antagonist all of a sudden when they eventually put up a fight. Because of this, I was aware that the only way to genuinely alter the story was to demonstrate it. On Tuesday, I waited till then. It took a few days for the tightness to become more pronounced. After that, I published a post. No one was tagged by me. I refrained from naming specific individuals. However, I was aware that they would notice it. They were all on my list of buddies at the time. On top of that, I made it known to the whole public. It was a straightforward caption. "In the event that you bring a wedding present worth $4,500 and are regarded as if you were the unpaid helper. This is a brief account of my family, respect, and the reasons I ultimately decided to leave." After that, I joined the screenshots together. An image of the envelope that had been torn open. It was the text message from Kayla asking for photographs, which was then followed by the message from Aunt Lorna saying, "You are not here to eat," which I had screenshotted as soon as she sent it. One of the pictures of the seating map for the wedding, in which my name is nowhere to be found. Following that, I uploaded a brief video. It is just me, recounting what took place in a calm manner. No shouting is allowed. There are no allegations. Only the facts. As if I were narrating a story over a cup of coffee, I continued to speak into the camera. I went into detail about how I had arrived earlier than expected. My lack of consent regarding the assignment of photography responsibilities to me. My gift had already been unwrapped when I discovered it. I was informed in front of my face that I was not a member of the family, but rather someone who was there to work. It is not an embellishment. I didn't feel any emotion at all. In this case, I just let the facts speak for themselves. And the rest was handled by the internet. Over 18,000 people had shared the post within the span of just one day. Unknown individuals poured in their comments. Some individuals were enraged on my behalf. Others related their own terrifying experiences of being treated like the help by members of their own family. Some people have just remarked, "I applaud your decision to get away." After that, the messages that they sent began to arrive. First of all, "Kayla and Nathan, could you please remove the post? You are completely unaware of the level of attention that this is drawing to us. It was witnessed by my fellow employees. Many individuals are posing inquiries." After that, Ryan said, "Hey man, look, I actually had no idea what was going on that day. I promise, I was just thinking that there was a reason why you had left early. Could we please have a conversation?" Even Melanie sent a message, which was lengthy and off-topic, and it was a part apology and half damage control. The assertion that she was unaware of the envelope was made by her, and that Aunt Lorna had informed her that I had departed after that, volunteering to assist, and that the check had never been brought up in conversation. If I had been aware of it, I would have made a statement. I ask that you believe me. However, Aunt Lorna was the most desperate and the most poisonous of the bunch. In fact, she did not even send me a direct message. She published a status update on Facebook. Certain individuals are willing to go to tremendous measures in order to bring down a wonderful moment just due to the fact that they were not the focus of attention. The way we brought up our children is superior than that. Today, I am thankful for my actual family. The wording was so ambiguous that it appeared to be innocent to the average reader. However, everyone who had seen my post was aware of the person she was referring to. It was a cruel comment that was placed under hers. Is Nathan the subject of this? I mean, if that's the case, you truly did make a mistake. The fact that he still showed up with a gift despite the fact that your niece and nephew treated him like dirt? Did you decide to open it? It is not surprising that he left. There was a shift in the societal tide. There was a slip in the mask. Suddenly, I was no longer the resentful outcast that I had been. This was the guy who had reached his limit. And what is the most exciting part? I hadn't been angry for a while. I wasn't even a petty person. I had no restrictions. I made a few additional moves throughout the course of the following several days. I made a phone call to the business that was in charge of Uncle Rob's domain name and requested that they remove it from my holdings. Starts immediately after that. I had no intention of holding anything in hostage stance. Simply put, I was no longer going to be accountable for the things that belonged to other people. In every single shared family plan that I had ever contributed to, I eliminated myself from the plan. Netflix, Disney Plus, and the premium account for Spotify that more than half of the relatives were using to mooch off are all gone. At this point, they might establish their own. In addition, I dispatched a secret message to Grandma. There is no answer to this. This is not a lengthy justification. This is the only thing. Your voicemail was heard by me. Equally, I adore you. I am all right. Nevertheless, I believe that I require some time apart from my family for a bit. Calling is always an option. However, not the other ones. Not at this time. In her response, she only used an emoji of a heart and nothing else. It was clear to her. The weeks went by. It continued to circulate the post. People continued to transmit it. It even made its way onto a couple TikToks and subreddits that are dedicated to family turmoil. Over the accompaniment of piano music, a man gave a dramatic reading of it. The comments were virtually unanimously in favor of the proposition. However, what was more significant was that I had undergone a shift. I was no longer bothered by the feeling that I needed to be included. I stopped attending family get-togethers on a regular basis. Completely stopped responding to the group chats. Stopped rescuing, fixing, funding, and helping for the cause. To begin, I began to refuse. Instead of giving the money that I had intended to offer as a gift, I decided to use it to book a trip for myself. In fact, it is. There is no Wi-Fi, no client emails, and no guilt from the family. Only me, a beach, and complete silence. During my time there, I also removed the photo archive from the computer. Not because of any ill will, but because I was the owner of it. It was constructed by me. This was maintained. Have paid for it. Despite the fact that they forgot I was a part of them, it was only because I cared enough to preserve everyone's memories that it came into being. But I also had memories at this point. Recent ones. It is the tranquility of the beach. The sound of waves rather than the remarks given at the wedding. As well as the tranquility that comes with the realization that you do not have to demonstrate your value to individuals who are never seeking for you. If you are curious about what happened to the check for $4,500, the answer is that I spent every single penny on myself. And each and every dime was well spent.